Hello, good morning, Mr. Rahul and Ms. Sangeeta, for joining us today. Just to give an introduction to the people who are watching this, Mr. Rahul Singh heads the respiratory patient care business in Sipla, and his top skills include brand management, pharmaceutical industry, extensive experience, product management, marketing strategy, and patient care. We are also joined by Ms. Sangeeta Mukherjee from Carrier Media India, who's leading HRBP and HR Ops pan India, including for the manufacturing unit, corporate office, and regional offices. She is responsible for people strategies and practices to provide an employee oriented, high performance driven culture with equal emphasis on empowerment, learning, productivity, value for people, diversity, and inclusion. Now, today, these two have joined us to discuss about this topic of building a resilient workforce, balancing talent, retention, and productivity. This trifecta is not really easy to manage, of course, as everybody knows, because a lot of people focus on taking time and effort ensuring that they get the right talent, but then there is a challenge of being able to retain them, because productivity is extremely important, right? If you're not able to get adequate productivity out of them, then it becomes a challenge to retain them. Or if you're able to get productivity out of them, but if you're not able to give them a growth path or motivate them, then it again becomes difficult to retain them, right? So this trifecta is a continuous process. So in that sense, I wanted to just start off with you, Ms. Sangeeta, on what your thoughts are on the fact that continuous learning, of course, has become a very critical component in adapting to fast-paced industry changes. And in your industry, in consumer durables and electronics specifically, there is a lot of action that's been happening in the last 3 4 years, especially post-COVID, right? So continuous learning is important to maintaining a competitive edge. So from your experience, what are the most effective strategies to embed a culture of continuous learning within an organization, particularly when dealing with a diverse workforce across different generations and skill levels?
Yeah, at the outset, I'd like to thank TeamLease for giving me this opportunity to share insights from my experience in this forum and get to learn from other dignitaries present here. When we talk about building a resilient workforce, as rightly said by you, it involves strategically managing the organization's human resources to ensure they're well equipped to withstand the challenges and adapt to the changing circumstances. So that starts the process starts from recruitment till the time, the development of the talent within the organization, and their performance management, as you rightly said, and till the time they are in the industry and they can recall you as a previous employer they worked with. So it's a continuous process. And when coming to the point or the question you had just asked me, it's about cultivating a culture of continuous learning. I think it starts with fostering an environment within the organization which allows ongoing learning at all the levels of employees. And it also involves creating a mindset and that values learning as a continuous process and not a one-time activity. So that is what continuous learning is, and I believe there are certain aspects to it. So when you want to cultivate a continuous learning culture within the organization, the first and foremost is to embrace the growth mindset within the organization, where organization encourages its employees to believe in themselves that they can learn and grow while working in the organization, and view the challenges as an opportunity to learn and not as an obstacle. Uh, Next will be providing learning opportunities at all the levels. So when we talk about learning opportunities, it's not only one format, like only a classroom training or few hours training. So it should be an amalgamation of different kind of formats in the learning journey. It can be mentoring, coaching, it can be different kind of workshops, training programs, and even giving access to educational resources for different levels. So I believe when you want to have that kind of culture within the organization, you have to make it very interesting for the target audience. And the next aspect should be promoting knowledge sharing culture also, because it is not always possible to give training, several kind of training to all the audiences within the given period. So you should also encourage knowledge sharing within the organization, and learning in company should also be a collaborative approach. So there should be some forums where there are some projects, some peer-to-peer learning, cross-functional projects where peers or colleagues, learn from each other's experiences. And also, we know that in every organization, all the functions are interrelated. So it's very important that you get to learn from each other, from each other's experiences in different functions. Next would be rewarding curiosity and innovation. So I coming from Career. We are a Career. My idea is a joint venture between Career, which is the inventor of AC, and my idea is one of the Fortune 500 organization who is the largest manufacturer of compressors, AC compressors, and home appliances globally. So we are innovation is ingrained in us in our company. So we kind of give a lot of importance to innovation and new ideas. So our company should be open to any new idea and should be able to open to that, have tolerance to the risk. So that also contributes to, learning culture within the organization when people see a company rewarding for the curiosity and innovation. Next would be supporting career development, of course. And so there should be a career graph, a well-defined career path for every positions and every employee within the organization. Because when you have, you actually organize or start some learning initiatives, the employee should be able to see the future of that initiative, like where will they be able to utilize those learnings. So if they don't see that career graph within the organization, the learning becomes stagnant. So it is very important that every position has a learning graph and a well-defined career path. And next, a very important part is leadership commitment. I believe it's very important that leaders should walk the talk. So while we talk about encouraging learning and all, but leaders should also be continuously participating in any learning initiatives and promote a learning culture by allocating resources for learning and development. So that also helps and encourages employees to be part of it, all the initiatives. So while we say employees should develop their skills, they should learn, but if the managers are always telling them that your job come first and learning, it's good if you can learn within that. If you don't get time, it's better you keep it as a secondary aspect. So, I think managers and leaders should also give time and should also encourage employees to spend time in learning and understand the importance of it, because it's a dynamic world. And so it's very important to stay competitive and keep learning and developing your skill sets. And last, I would say it's feedback and reflection. While we take a lot of initiatives in learning, a lot of resources are uh, invested, but unless you have a proper feedback mechanism, space or scope to reflect the learning process you have gone through, it's very difficult to retain that learning, right? And to understand the impact of that learning resources or learning investment you have done. So, so these are the major aspects I think somebody should focus on when they want to cultivate a continuous learning culture within the organization. So, in Career My Idea, we have a very well-defined learning, path for all the level of employees. So recently we have, since after COVID, like we have started developing many other such resources. One would be Aggressor, which is a hypo development program, which has been appreciated across the company, while we have some standard programs for all the employees, but there are some specific trainings we have which are for a particular group of cohort. So there are certain trainings for hypo development, hypo no talent. There are certain trainings for managers, new managers in the system. So I believe you should identify the training needs first of all, and then define the training journeys for each and every audience in the organization. So that's my take on training.
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta. So, Mr. Rahul, coming to you again, same question. How do you embed a culture of continuous learning in the organization? And for you particularly, since you had the respiratory care business, which is a specialty of CIPLA as well, uh, there there may not be too much literature available out there online, right, to be able to coach your people, because I mean you are the experts in this field. So how do you still ensure that there is this culture of continuous learning?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me here. Uh, just a small clarification. I don't head the business. I lead a team of 1,000 plus people who are, delivering patient care on the ground. When it comes to patient care, it is, everything has a particular boundary. That after this, what can you ensure and train your people, groom your people, because the basic level of communication, talking to a consumer, understanding, etc., that's already taken care of. So this is where, at least in Zipla, what we've done is that we have a concept called coaching tool, which is like a day to day. Now, imagine our learning is not restricted to a classroom learning or once in a quarter or once every 6 months. Whenever your manager is working with the employee on the ground, he or she has to give the feedback around specific set of parameters which move around technical, behavioral, the way he or she has communicated, the way he or she has taken the feedback, etc., etc. And this happens on a day-to-day basis. So what happens is that 1,000 plus employees are being, guided. They are being counseled on every visit that they are working with their managers. Basis the cohort and the bucketing that we have, we devise the learning program, which can be given to them via a classroom or a workshop-based training. So this is our attempt at making this as a continuous learning program. I agree with all the things that Sangeeta just shared. Uh, at Cipla, we have a way of managing this via, on the ground initiatives, then coming back on the table that these are the need gaps and this is what we need to fulfill.
Got it. If I could just go back to Ms. Sangeeta, one of the points that you mentioned piqued my curiosity. You mentioned that people should be rewarded for curiosity. How exactly do you do that?
Okay. I'll come to the reward system. So we have different kind of reward system in our organization. So we have some monthly rewards, some quarterly rewards, and annual rewards. So in that, we also have this aspect, since we are driven by innovation, and AC industry is evolving every year and every generation. So it is important for us to keep aligned to that. And you must have seen the new carrier AC. It has come with the LED light on it, and it's I think first AC to come with that kind of technology. So we keep uh, encouraging our employees to start thinking out of the box, start thinking in a way where you can make yourself, your product and your company come into the limelight. And whenever such kind of ideas come across and which is implementable, we do reward those ideas. And we have also made, the training a part of reward and reward a part of training. We are trying to make a uh, amalgamation of training and reward. So when we select the hypos, for example, for Agrasar, the hypo development program, the potential employees, the high potential employees, when they're selected, they feel quite proud of being selected, because they knows that they are those particular few employees in that particular year has been selected for the training. So they all already feel that pride to give their best to the project. And we have different projects also aligned to the training journeys we have in our organization, so in which people can utilize their out of the box thinking to innovate and improvise all the existing processes and policies. So while we talk about innovating, we encourage innovation, but we also try to provide those forums where employees can come forward and share their out of the box thinking or new ideas for betterment of this organization and this industry.
Yeah. No, great. Moving on to the next question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Rahul. So, uh, employee well-being and work-life balance have become very prominent in organizational priorities, especially post-pandemic. But having said that, it is such an unfortunate coincidence that we've planned for these topics and these questions, and very recently there is this unfortunate incident of the 26-year-old employee Anna Sebastian Pereil, working for Ernst and Young, who allegedly passed away owing to excessively high, work pressure. Karoshi, as it's called in Japanese, right, is a thing. and looks like it is prevalent in India as well. It's probably not just coming to light so much. So how can companies really go beyond traditional wellness programs? With many companies that I've seen, at least they are just ticks in a box. So how can companies go beyond that to truly create a supportive environment that addresses mental, emotional, and social needs and well-being of their workforce? If at all there is any practices that you see which have worked, and especially since you're managing more than 1,000 people, how do you integrate this well-being into the company's culture, and what metrics do you think can be used to actually measure the impact of these initiatives as well?
Okay. So there are two, three ways by which we can do this. The first and the most important and the most vital thing is communication. What happens is that we tend to give more such platforms, which means that, let me give you an example. Today there is a wellness session and you'll get a lot of emailers that it has been arranged in the cafeteria. You'll call everyone over there, but on that particular day some of the people are not there, some of the people have other commitments, etc., etc. So while the initiative was to ensure that people come together for a session on wellness, but it gradually has a very limited attendance. What we tend to do more with our setup over here, I'm just talking about the educators, the population that I manage, is that we have more communication on a weekly basis. And this is a direct communication. We do not call them at a particular location and we don't give them topics to discuss. We have a very, very simple conversation around friends, family, how is it working, which doctors are giving you a good response, where are the input areas that you've received, and having this sort of conversation wherein it's imagine this like a support group. Okay, in a support group, everyone is given a chance to say. There might be instances wherein two, three people don't say. That's okay, but at least you've given them the opportunity to speak out, and you have a small circle wherein people are given the empowerment that they can be open, they can be transparent, and they can share the feedback. I think this could work if managers in this. I've heard this instance about this young professional, and I feel very sorry about it. But uh, you know what the best what we can do as managers is have more and more conversations. Some conversations could be formal in nature. Some conversations could be informal in nature, just to get the person personally connecting to them and ensuring that they have somebody wherein they can come and they can share their views and they can share their problems. I think that's the way that we could work around this.
No, great. Just a follow-up question, if you will, Mr. Rahul. Since you have about 1,000 people, right? How do you ensure that there is a personal connect happening at this scale? I mean, there must be a lot of supervisors
Not from
also, of
me.
course.
Yeah. So we have a series of layers of people. We have zonal managers, regional managers, and then followed by the area managers. So this is where we ensure that everyone is connected. This is where we ensure that everyone is being heard, and their problems, their suggestions, their recommendations are taken care of. At least there's somebody who's listening and responding. That's the attempt.
Got it. And at the ground level, what is the ideal span you would recommend? Is it 1:10, 1:20? I mean, for
Anything
your
between one is to 10 is perfect, because one is
setup.
to 10, this is the ideal crowd, because people would not feel that they are lost. It's not that huge. Plus, people would get the individual and special attention. So I think that's the best crowd. And we've tried this. When the crowd is reduced to 1:5, out of the peer pressure that if I say something, what will the others think, and they don't speak out. So basis that those learnings, I feel 1:10 would be the preferable count.
Perfect. All right. Same question to you, Ms. Sangeeta. So, how do you ensure that real well-being is firstly integrated into organizational culture, and what are the initiatives with which you can actually drive it and also measure its impact?
Okay. Um, so, work-life balance and well-being has become a hygiene factor nowadays in this organization. And but giving this wellness, organizing this wellness programs, flexible work arrangement, and giving time off, number of holidays, those have become quite age-old resources, or things we can provide to an employee for work-life balance. And generally, when work-life balance comes to us, like when it's discussed about, what does comes to our mind? It's about only the how many holidays you're giving to those employees, and whether about the hybrid culture, I think those are the things which comes to your mind immediately when you talk about work-life balance. So first of all, we as an organization will have to understand why we are focusing on well-being and work-life balance. And of course, the objective is to have a resilient workforce, right? So in this dynamic world, in this uh, competitive world, it's very important that we have a employee force who is physically, mentally, and emotionally equipped enough to face the challenges, take up the opportunities, and uh, be resilient when they work in the organization. So that is the objective. And when we talk about work-life balance, it is again defined from industry to industry. So uh, if you talk about hybrid culture, work culture, it's not possible to give it follow the same in different industries. Like a hybrid culture in IT will be different, and that in a manufacturing company will be different. So we cannot give the similar kind of flexibility to our employees, but then we'll have to figure out how do we manage and encourage a work life balance, and walk the talk rather. So unfortunately, work life balance nowadays, such a big organization and a professional working, and that to a chartered accountant, qualified chartered accountant, going through this kind of situation is certainly unfortunate. But problem is, when we talk about work life balance, it is just become a retention tool, or attract rather a employer branding tool to attract best talents in the organization, rather than really feeling and believing in it and working towards it. So I believe we should work, take a step forward, and do more new things like uh, Mr. Rahul was sharing. So we also in this organization, we have happy calling. Happy calling is something where we call individual employees. So HR people, HR employees in our organization, they will take out some time and contact people individually to understand what challenges they are facing day in, day out, about their personal health, about the family. So just to get a feel whether they're satisfied within their job, if anything else is bothering them or not. Because as rightly said by you, many a times when we have such HR connects, we do have some HR connect session also, where we visit branch employees to understand their challenges specific to that branch. But many a times people don't open up. So we do have such many webinars and mental related to mental well-being, then a general well-being of employees, but they don't open up in those kind of forums when there are hundreds of employees there. So, but separately they will call and say, okay, we are thankful that you're organizing this kind of. So recently, we had a mental workshop or session on mental well-being, where we spoke about mental illness. So somebody called us and said, we're thankful that you organize such session, because we generally don't talk about mental illness, and it's still a taboo when we discuss about it. So we'd like to know more. And he was actually going through, somebody in his family was going through the situation, and he knows the things like the side effects of it. So apart from that, we also have certain programs like ACEs. ACEs is something where we encourage employees to come up with their stories about their passion. So if anybody is pursuing any extracurricular activities like marathon, or hiking, or say biking, or singing, any extracurricular activities other than job, and they're passionate about it, and they have achieved something in those areas, we like to showcase it. And we have created that forum. It's kind of a talk series where one employee interviews the other employee who has achieved something other than their uh, job profile, and we talk about it, and we encourage other employees to also spend time to kind of pursue their passion, to maintain that balance of work life balance per se. So my thinking about is that while we talk about it, we should also try to look out for opportunities to encourage people to certainly maintain the work life balance along with their job. So that's my take about a work life balance.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you. Thanks for that. Uh, now the next question will be more of a follow through from the previous question itself, in the sense, especially where there is remote or hybrid work or field work. What are the essential qualities of leaders who can effectively manage and inspire their teams? I mean, you obviously have exposure, both of you have exposure to leaders at various levels in the hierarchy who are managing field people or remote or hybrid working people. So how can organizations identify these traits of leaders, effectively develop them within their leadership pipeline as well, ensure that this is not just a one-off case or prevalent in a few people in the organization or a few leaders, but make sure that all leaders exhibit that same quality? What strategies can be employed to ensure transparency, trust, and alignment in a predominantly digital communication landscape, so which makes it easier as well? So, how do you do this then? I'll start with Mr. Rahul this time.
Okay. So I'll go to the same concept, what I shared earlier in terms of one tool which binds the whole of this continuous learning together, which is the coaching tool. Now, while it's very simple to say, but while you're working on the ground, you have so many different priorities that you tend to forget, you tend to skip, or you tend to deprioritize this particular, very, very vital conversation, which is important for the employee as well as for the manager, because both of them would be able to, between that small conversation that might happen, they would be able to drive what will happen in this territory with this doctor, with the patients going ahead. So we tend to measure the metrics around this, how many people are actually using this, how many people are actively, grooming the team, what are the parameters that they are looking at for, in majority of the cohorts, which parameters are not being taken care of. And these are the traits that we tend to see, we tend to follow. Basis this, the question that you had in terms of what are the attributes or what are the personas or what are the qualities that we want to develop, we get
Yes.
the idea from this particular coaching tool. Everything that they are reviewing very often, we tend to check the skills and then improve. Everything that they don't tend to check, don't tend to measure, don't tend to fill up, or there's hardly any conversation. And this is we get this feedback from the employee as well as from the manager. So both the cases, it's not that somebody has reported and then we are just working on that. We get to validate this. In basis that, we are able to create customized learning programs, learning journeys for the managers, basis which we are able to create or cultivate a culture of learning.
All right. So, Ms. Sangeeta, what are your thoughts on this?
So you're talking about effective leadership, right?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in the context of leaders who are not managing people sitting right under their noses, but people who are dispersed, right? Maybe because they are people on the field, or maybe people who are working, remotely, or hybrid employees, etc. In that context, how do they still, exhibit leadership qualities wherein they can motivate and raise the performance of the team?
Well, first and foremost, for leadership, I think communication is a very strong aspect. For effective leadership, clear vision, providing guidance and support to employees, fostering a culture of trust, respect, and collaboration is the foremost things which make it more effective. And a transparent communication ensures that information is shared openly and honestly and timely manner, and creating a sense of transparency alignment throughout the organizations. So so you know what, it helps preventing any misunderstanding and conflicts and rumors, promoting a harmonious and cooperative work environment, be it a hybrid uh, format or a regular format. So we have, say, our head office is in Gurgaon, our factory is in Supa, which is in Pune, and we have around 19 branches across India. Okay, and and all the leaders are basically sitting in the head office. So and they're driving all the functions for all these branches and locations. So it becomes very important that you have a clear cut communication and very transparent communication. And why Career Media is known for its open work culture. So uh, junior most employee can also go to the chairman and meet him and ask queries. And we have many such forums like Coffee with Chairman. We have a leadership, talk series, which is called League, right? So it's also a kind of interview format where one senior interviews the other senior to understand the failures, the success, the challenges they have come across in their journey. So while we are also trying to have a transparent communication. With that, we are also trying to make our leaders approachable to to the mass, right? So when you have this kind of forums, we generally don't, all the junior employees or the field staffs don't get to speak to a chairman or the seniors of all the departments, right? So in this kind of forums, they get to know about that person, and they feel that they are more approachable when you talk about your life journey, from the beginning of your career and all. So other than that, we have monthly town halls, we have newsletters where we share about each and every branches, like the achievements of each branches, each functions. So that also helps others to know what exactly is going within the organization. So all these things are driven by leaders only. So the kind of culture you want to build in the organization starts from the leaders, the kind of culture they want to build within the organization. So I believe these are some aspects we should nurture and we should focus on when we talk about effective leadership.
Okay, fair. Last but not the least question, I'll start with you, Mr. Gita, this time. So, with recognition and growth opportunities being the key drivers of motivation and retention, how can organizations, in your opinion, effectively build programs that not only acknowledge employees' contributions, but also support long term career development to foster a resilient and committed workforce? Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, carrot and stick approach has always worked, and so does it for any corporate world also in our job. So we believe a lot in recognition. As I told you, we try to uh, make a combination of training, recognition, rewards together, so that employees feel encouraged to participate in all the initiatives we take in HR and in the organization. So rewards is one of our very important aspect, and we believe that it should be uh, provided on a timely basis. Like, we don't uh, wait till the annual award. Annual award is definitely the performance on the basis of the performance for that particular performance year. But then we also have the culture of rewarding employees whenever they come up with some new initiative, even a small help to a colleague. So we have some Bravo cards which are given in every month. So to just a thank
These
you
are like
card.
sport awards. I mean, they don't really have to have follow a certain frequency, you're saying.
Yes, yes. So those are we call it Bravo cards, and we have quarterly appreciation letters which are given by the function heads and the chairman to those who have achieved those who are the outstanding achievers, like they have overachieved their targets. And then we have we have these newsletters also, as I told you. So we showcase all these awards in the newsletter also, so that it goes across to all the branches, to all the employees in the organization. We also post this kind of reward and recognition on LinkedIn and other forums, which make them feel more recognized and proud. And then we, of course, we have the annual awards at the end of the year, where best performer for all the functions are awarded. So I guess in reward also, you have to define the format properly as per the level of achievements. So it can be normal employee recognition, then it can be personalized recognition also. So if tailoring recognition efforts to each individual preferences, and which strengthens their significant impact what they bring in the organization. And then, of course, growth opportunities within the organization is also part of reward only, right? So uh, if the defining a clear career path, a clear career graph for every position within the organization is also part of a recognition system, right? So if an employee does not see himself, that does not have a clear objective after 2 years where he'll be reaching, okay, so it becomes for him also, it becomes very demotivating, right? So when will the next promotion come? When will the next next career uh, uh, progression come? So the career progression is equally an important part of reward. And Then yes, I think this mix of all these things is part of a reward and recognition program. So that's what we are doing here.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Mr. Geeta. Mr.
Hmm.
Rahul, what are your thoughts on this? How do you ensure that the right rewards and recognition mechanisms are put in place, coupled with a well-defined career progression or long-term learning opportunities for the employees?
Okay. So just like my previous answer, I'll keep it very short, very sweet. Basically, when you talk about patient care, you can't reward or you can't, measure patient care. So at the level of the educators, who are the last mile of people who are dealing with the patients, we reward them on the patient's feedbacks on how, and the patient, when I say patient feedback, we don't directly ask the patient, we ask their caregivers, because they understand the true level of what is the care that this particular person has given, and whether this differs with the previous doctors or the previous staff that they've interacted with, because then they will be able to compare. So this is at the level of the ground level staff, which is educated. We reward this feedback in terms of these are the set of employees, and we don't have a bandwidth that only top 10, top 15. Whoever has done well has actually done well. So we, recognize them, and we, in a way, felicitate them for doing good job done, because caring for life is embedded in CIPLA. And if we are doing this, then we are serving the true purpose and the true commitment that we had. Now, coming at the level of managers, you cannot, again, reward on basic set how many patients engaged and all these things. What we generally reward the managers on, apart from the patient score, is we tend to give them new projects. The projects could be around innovation. The projects could be around finding a better way of interacting with the consumer or a patient. The projects could be on managing difficult customers. The project could be on having new technologies in this forte of patient care. We give them this project. What happens is anyone who has done very good and they've done extremely well with their project completion, they are getting recognized at a national forum. So let's assume if I had a person called Amit, and Amit has done extremely well in adopting new technologies in patient care. He is known to all India that this is the technology person for patient care. Everyone from India calls Amit, takes their feedback, takes their suggestions, takes their recommendations. And this is where the true level of recognition that, yes, I've done something different and people are reaching out to me. I'm passing on my expertise and I'm making others being successful in their journey. So this is what we call true recognition at the level of managers, which we tend to drive and which we tend to facilitate via different challenges given to our employees and managers. That's my take on it.
Got it. Apart from this, how do you define a career progression plan for them and long-term learning, if at all there is one for them? Because I know that it's fuzzy to be able to do it in this space in patient care, right? But how do you still manage that?
Again, the same thing. If you have delivered something which is over and beyond your job description, then you are bound to lead a larger team, move into a better role, which is a better geography, etc. This is the way that, at least in my, because I don't manage with product, I manage with patients, and this is where our line of working, our line of action is slightly different compared to others, peers and other industries.
Fair. All right. So that brings us to the end. I just wanted to give a couple of minutes to each of you for your closing comments on this. Again, I'll start with Mr. Rahul this time. Your thoughts on, again, how to summit, I mean, summing up how to build a resilient
Summing
workforce.
it up, to sum it up, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. I believe communication is the key to better employee management and retention. Communication doesn't mean that you have to arrange for a program, arrange for some snack, tea, coffee, and people come, they play together games. Communication is as simple as, have you ensured that you not had a 1 minute uh, minus the office chatter conversation with that employee. That could be done in a group of 7, 8, 10, whatever number of people, but you have to ensure that you've reached out. The second thing is, learning is not something which can be done on a momentary. You can't have learning like a budget presentation. It can't be done only in March. Learning is something that might happen, that should happen on a day-to-day basis. Every interaction that the manager does with the employee should have certain parameters which, as a group, they have to improve. Because over there, the employee and the manager, they both represent that particular department or that particular industry. The third thing that I see is when you think of who is ready for being, promoted, recognized, or being, developed as a manager. Always keep a focus on what is the curiosity, just like Sangeeta was sharing this earlier. If there is curiosity, if there is a, strive for excellence, if there is a strive for doing something beyond your normal job description, now that is the person that we should empower. That is the person that we should give platforms. We should hear them out more and give them, the empowerment that, my friend, please go out there and do something different. Please come back if your learnings, if your task was successful, then we would be more than happy to scale it up at a all India level. This is my take on the 45 minutes that we just had.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, so communication, day-to-day learning, and rewarding curiosity. That point again, that last point resonated with what Ms. Sangeeta also had to say. Thanks so much, Mr. Rahul. So, Ms. Sangeeta, your closing comments, please.
With the same comments, I started this discussion, building resilient workforce, balancing talent, retention, and productivity. It involves strategically managing the organization's human resources to ensure that they're well equipped to withstand the challenges and adapt to the changing circumstances. So, world is changing like anything. So, we have to ensure that we equip them to face the challenges and take it as considered is it as an learning opportunity and not an obstacle. And this approach should also focus on attracting and retaining top talent, fostering employee loyalty and commitment, and maximize productivity through effective leadership development initiatives. So overall, I think striking a balance between nurturing talent, enhancing the retention efforts, and optimizing productivity levels is what it creates a workforce that is agile, adaptable, and capable of thriving to the face of uncertainty and this, dynamic world. So that's my summarization of this discussion, I would say.
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta. Yeah, as you said, nurturing talent and balancing that with productivity is the holy grail that everybody is seeking, right? And there are a lot of interventions that you and Mr. Rahul mentioned, which would, I'm sure, be very useful to the people who will watch this, to try it out in their organizations as well and see if they can get better outcomes. But thank you so much, Ms. Sangeeta and Mr. Rahul, for joining us today and for sharing your valuable insights, taking time out on a weekday in the morning. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot and have a great weekend.